Okay guys, so today for the first video of 2024, we're actually going to be doing the timing chains on my Mark V R32 here. And I'm going to kind of walk you guys through a couple of the steps that you can use when you're trying to do this on your own. This is my Mark V R32. It has over 300,000 kilometers on it now. And when I bought it last year, one of my main concerns with the motor was the eventual feeling of the timing chain and its components. So one thing you might be asking if you're looking into getting into one of these cars, or you have a VR6 and you're curious, how do I even know what the condition of the timing chains is? Rostech's VCDS is probably your best bet in terms of being able to diagnose and figure out how much play your timing chain has. VCDS actually allows you to go into the computer, connect it to your car, and see the actual offset values that the cam variators have, just to see like how much tolerance there is with the timing chain. And those offset values are a good indication to the condition of your timing chain and the rest of the timing components in your engine, such as the timing chain guides and the timing chain tensioner, which also fail as well. Another way to check the condition of your timing chains is to actually listen to the motor when it's running. And if you listen to this clip here, you're going to be able to hear it sounds like there's like a tiny marble just like rolling around at the top of the valve cover. So as you just heard in that video, that's kind of how it sounds when it's starting to get a little bit worn. And that's the point where I decided, you know what, I drive my car hard. I'm not going to be babying it. I want to be able to enjoy this. So let me do the chains. Fair warning though, I did actually complete the timing chain job like over a year ago. So I'm kind of just making this as an intro to that footage and an intro to the car and all that type of stuff. So let's just hop right into it. Okay guys, so first thing I've done for this timing chain replacement on my Mark V R32 is remove the whole front end. You can see the clip is over there, the front clip, support and rad, the condenser, fans, all that stuff, just pull it right off. It's these 4 bolts on either side, and then like a couple little screws underneath and some connectors. Got to get off headlight washer, hose, you got to get that off. And then one thing I would recommend, which I did, is get your AC system depressurized so that you can just pull those off. Drain my coolant. Gonna start taking off the intake manifold and then the valve cover, and yeah, start getting into this. So where we are right now, got the intake manifold off. It was really tricky because there's a bolt that's back here that you gotta remove, but to get it off, you gotta pull this whole, gotta pull this thing off. To pull that off, you gotta take off this bracket so you can move it back so you can access this bolt. It's a triple square. You gotta remove that one. And then these vacuum connectors were kind of weird. They kind of just push off. This one, you gotta push on these little grooves over in the corner. You push on those with like a screwdriver and push it away from the intake manifold and it'll pop off. And this one, you just push the gray part in. You just push that in and it squeezes. This is the valve train of my nearly 300,000 kilometer R32 VR6 from Mark V. And you can see the chains here. You guys heard them earlier. But this is the kind of play that we're looking at for that sound. It is not much. It is just the tiniest bit of play. Probably would have a good amount of life left in it. But because of my plans for the vehicle, I really don't want to chance it. And I am going to replace it along with the guides and everything else. So here it is just from the top. That's the kind of play. So I just pulled off the thermostat. Look at this old gasket. It's like oversized. I don't even know how this thing was in there, but it is definitely done. It's got like dirt and stuff all on it. Don't know how badly this was leaking, but we're not keeping that in. I got a new one of these. Okay guys, so it's the next day. Just a quick update here. Got the upper timing cover off. I'm just in the process of removing the transmission. So I've got all the bolts out except for one in the back, which I'm just working on, including the ones I've already gotten out for the transfer case back there. It's best to go from underneath with a few extensions is what I found. And yeah, just one more bolt, I think.
Okay, so what you guys can see here, I've already taken all of the bell housing bolts off, and I'm just lowering it from the transmission mount there that mounts to the body. And I am just putting a pry in there, just trying to see if I can wedge it off bit by bit. I did have a jack underneath the transmission supporting the transmission at this time, and a jack stand underneath the motor just to keep the motor from falling as well. So I was kind of lifting and prying up and down the transmission a little bit and wiggling it in order to get it in a kind of halfway off state that you'll see here in a second.
Okay, so the transmission is half off, not completely off, but enough for me to pull this flywheel out and get some access to this lower timing chain cover. So I'm gonna take this off now and replace the chains and the rear main seal, and hopefully be able to get this back together sometime soon. Okay guys, so we're finally in here. You can see we have access to the timing chains now. I'm gonna start pulling this stuff off, and yeah, I don't think it's ever been replaced. You can see it's looking pretty burnt and black like everywhere. I don't think there's anything wrong with being black. But in terms of things looking burnt, I mean, it's not good for engine components. So yeah, we're gonna take all of this stuff off. This is 300,000, well, almost 300,000 kilometers.
Okay, so I kind of just want to jump in here and just give you guys another quick tip. When you're ordering your parts for your VR6, make sure, absolutely make sure that you order the guides as well. You need to order the guides, not just the upper and lower chain. Make sure you get the front guide, the rear guide, the lower guide, and the upper guide. All four of those I would recommend replacing, just because you don't want to put everything back together and still be experiencing the same issues, or you know, it becomes a waste of time at that point. And you know what, you'll actually see the difference in the timing chain guides right here in this clip that I'm going to show you guys.
Okay guys, so for reference, these are the timing chain guides. So on the left we have the brand new guide, obviously you can see, and on the right we have the used guide, my 300,000 kilometer guide. And if you look closely, you can see it's got some actual grooves in it where it's been chewed up by the chain, which is that's not good. So yeah, replacing this. This is the rear guide. This one has some clear cut grooves in it where the chain was just eating through this thing, and you can see, like, that is not good. We're losing a lot of tolerance off of that off of these grooves here, so this one's also getting replaced. So it seems like most of our issues were around the guides and the actual sprocket here. So if you look closely, you'll see there's a lot of wear on this sprocket where it's been eaten into by the chain, which gives us more tolerance again than we want. Whereas this one, I mean, this is brand new, so. Yeah. Okay, this is our larger intermediate sprocket here. It has a bit of wear on it, but it's not intense. Not nearly as bad as that first one. Okay guys, it's 5:30 in the morning. The city's starting to wake up. I've got the motor, transmission back together. It's almost ready to fully be back together. Just got to put the subframe back up and the drive shafts in and do all the fluids, and then it should be good to go. But I'm going to sleep. Unfortunately, that's where I actually stopped recording, but eventually I did put the front end back on the car, put the subframe back up, the axles and all that. I then drove this thing untested on a 4.5-hour road trip to go and visit my friends, and it worked. I mean, I got there safely and I got back home safely. I did have one issue, which was a coolant hose that I think the clamp was just not on tight enough and it was giving me a small coolant leak. But other than that, everything went back together fine. The most difficult part of this job, the most difficult part for me, was realigning the transmission with the engine. As one person doing this in my tiny garage, it was difficult. And I had to be very clever with my jacks and jack stands and my raw muscles. And by the end of this thing, I was just wasted. I was so exhausted just wrestling the transmission back into place, because you have to wrestle it not only onto the output shaft of the engine, but also the transfer case bevel box thing at the back there that sends the power to the back wheels. So you might want to get a helper if you have one. If not, it is possible. You just got to be creative and persistent. I'm telling you, I worked on this thing over the span of maybe 2 days after work and I got it done, but it was very stressful. So all that being said, the timing chains are now fixed. I can worry about the other issues that this car has, which there really aren't many, but I hope that if anything, this video gives you a vote of confidence in yourself to try doing something like this. Whether you're looking into getting a VR6 or you already have one, these motors are incredibly easy to work on and really simple and pretty bulletproof, aside from the timing chain. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace.